When you think about Oprah Winfrey, it's this incredible journey, isn't it? From really deep poverty in rural Mississippi to just commanding this global stage.
Absolutely. Her story is just full of, well, courage, but also pain, dreams, and this immense heart.
Right. And her voice, it genuinely changed millions of lives. That's what we're digging into today.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into that extraordinary life using a source that chronicles her whole path.
Starting right back at the beginning, Kosciusko, Mississippi, the hardships she faced almost right away.
Exactly. Born January 29th, 1954. And those early struggles, they seem to have forged this inner strength, this resilience that became so key later on.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Oprah Gail Winfrey, and her name was actually meant to be Orpah from the Bible.
Yeah, that's right. But it kept getting mispronounced. And her childhood, profound poverty is the word.
Her mother, Vernita, was very young. Her father, Vernon, away in the service. So no stable family structure initially.
No, not at all. And she moved around a bit. But the constant figure, the nurturing one, was her grandmother, Hattie Mae.
Ah, yes. And Hattie Mae taught her to read incredibly early.
Before she was 3. Can you imagine? Our source mentions people in church just being amazed when this little girl could, read Bible verses.
Wow. That must have ignited something in her, right? Finding power in language even then.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Especially when you contrast it with the potato sack dresses.
God, that image. Wearing potato sacks because they couldn't afford clothes, it just screams different.
It really does.
Yeah.
And maybe that early feeling of, otherness, maybe that's where some of her later empathy came from.
That makes a lot of sense, that ability to connect with people who felt unseen or marginalized. Maybe it started right there.
It likely did, having that firsthand knowledge of struggle.
But then things shift. Age 6, she moves to Milwaukee to live with her mother.
Yeah, and it sounds like a very different environment. A crowded home, her mother working long hours.
Leading to loneliness, maybe. A different kind of hardship.
And, tragically, something much darker. This is where the sexual abuse began, by relatives and family friends.
Ugh. Such a heavy, difficult thing to carry, especially as a child, and in secret for so long.
Absolutely devastating. And the fact that she could later talk about it, frame it as turning wounds into wisdom, it just speaks volumes about her journey of healing.
It really does. That strength to not be defined by it, but to, transform it.
Yeah, and into something that could potentially help others understand or heal themselves.
So after that trauma, we see this rebellious phase around age 9, skipping school.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a reaction to the turmoil, a way of acting out, perhaps looking for some kind of control.
Could be. And then at 14, the pregnancy.
And the loss of the baby soon after birth. Just another layer of unimaginable trauma at such a young age.
How do you even process that? It must have profoundly shaped her views on life, loss.
Undoubtedly. A deep sense of fragility, maybe. Compassion, certainly. But then another huge change.
Moving to Nashville to live with her father, Vernon.
Right. And he was strict, wasn't he?
Very. But also invested. The source mentions him requiring her to read a book and write a report every single week.
That structure, that discipline, combined with him clearly believing in her, it seems like that was exactly what she needed.
It pulled her back, reignited that love of learning. You could almost see her confidence starting to rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you see it blossom at school.
The speech team.
Yeah.
Winning contests, finding her voice literally.
People were captivated even then. Her presence, her emotional connection.
What was it, do you think, that made her stand out so early on?
Maybe just authenticity. Even as a teen, she seemed to communicate from the heart. It wasn't just reciting. People felt it.
It's like all these pieces, the hardships, the reading, the trauma, the structure, were somehow preparing her.
Yeah. Despite everything, those big dreams the source talks about, they didn't die.
Which is amazing in itself, the resilience.
It really is.
Mm.
And her father's influence seems to have given those dreams a place to really take root.
Which brings us to her rise in media.
Right. Nashville was where things started clicking professionally. That speaking ability getting honed. And the speech and drama teams weren't just clubs, they were like her training ground.
Then winning the Miss Black Tennessee pageant at 17, that wasn't just a beauty contest, was it?
No, that was a key moment.
Cool.
It opened the door.
Led straight to a job, right?
Yep, part-time newsreader at a local radio station.
Yeah.
WVOL. At 17.
17 and on the air. Incredible. And then she goes to Tennessee State University, studies communications, keeps a radio job.
She's clearly building towards something in media. Strategically.
And then the leap to TV. WLAC TV in Nashville. Youngest and first Black female news anchor there.
Monumental. Think about the pressure, though. Young, female, Black, breaking barriers.
The scrutiny must have been intense.
And yet, it wasn't quite the right fit for her, was it?
No. The source says she struggled with the impersonal style of hard news.
Right. She wanted connection, empathy, and she was told she was too soft, too emotional.
Which just shows how limited that view of news was then. They saw her strengths as weaknesses.
Exactly. But the crucial thing is, she realized it herself. She recognized that those qualities were her strengths, just maybe in the wrong place.
And that takes courage, doesn't it, to say, this isn't me, and trust her gut.
Real self-awareness. So she moves on to Baltimore, co-anchoring the evening news there.
Still feeling a bit like a square peg in a round hole, it seems.
Until the shift to the morning talk show. People are talking.
And suddenly she felt at home.
Yes. Finally. The format just clicked with her warmth, her curiosity, her honesty.
It allowed her to be herself, basically. And the audience responded immediately. Ratings went up.
It's such a lesson, isn't it? Finding the right stage for your specific talents. Her weaknesses in news became her superpowers in talk.
Totally, which sets up the next big move. Chicago, 1983.
Taking over AM Chicago, a show that was, well, struggling badly.
Yeah.
Last place in the ratings.
A huge gamble.
But also a massive opportunity. And she didn't just tweak it. She transformed it.
How? What was the magic ingredient?
Her approach. Open, honest, caring conversations. She created this atmosphere of trust and connection.
And Chicago viewers just embraced it, took the show from worst to first incredibly quickly.
It really speaks to that power of genuine connection. People felt seen by her.
Which led to the show being renamed in 1984, The Oprah Winfrey Show.
An iconic name was born. But even as that's taking off, something else happens.
The color purple. The audition for Spielberg.
Yeah, almost out of nowhere. No real acting experience to speak of.
But she lands the role of Sophia. And her performance, wow.
So powerful, so deeply felt. Earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
Do you think her own life experiences fed into that performance? The pain, the resilience?
Almost certainly. She could tap into Sophia's emotions in a way that felt incredibly raw and authentic. That vulnerability resonated.
And yet, even with that Hollywood success, that nomination, she stuck with the talk show.
Yeah, she knew where her true passion or true platform was. The show allowed that continuous connection.
By the mid-'80s, she wasn't just a local host anymore. She was a national figure.
And she was realizing her calling, wasn't she? Using her voice, not just to talk, but to empower.
Which leads us right into the era of the Oprah Winfrey Show going national in '86. And it was different from the start.
Very different. It wasn't about gossip or fighting. It was about authentic communication. Heartfelt.
She was so open from the beginning, wasn't she? Sharing her own struggle.
Yes. poverty, abuse, weight issues, self-worth, that vulnerability created this incredible bond with the audience. They saw themselves in her.
And she gave everyday people a platform, too, alongside the celebrities.
Mm-hmm. Talk about really tough subjects, racism, addiction, mental health, things that weren't usually discussed so openly on daytime TV.
It must have been groundbreaking, creating a space for healing, for understanding.
It really changed the national conversation around those issues, made it okay to talk about them, less stigmatized.
And then she brought in spirituality, self-help, asking those deeper questions.
Live your best life. That phrase became huge.
It really captured a mood, didn't it? A desire for growth, for meaning.
Definitely. She wasn't just entertaining. She was, in a way, guiding.
And then Oprah's book club in '96, the Oprah effect on book sales was just staggering.
Phenomenal. She could turn a book into a mega bestseller overnight. She made reading, well, cool again for millions.
How did she do that? What was the magic?
I think it was her genuine passion. She talked about the books in a way that made you feel them, connect with the stories emotionally. It became a shared experience.
Beyond books, there was Oprah's Angel Network starting in '98.
Right, mobilizing her audience for philanthropy. They raised over $80 million for education, disaster relief.
It showed the deep trust and connection she had. Her viewers became partners in giving back.
And her personal commitment to education, especially the Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa.
That opened in 2007, a huge ongoing commitment.
It really underscores that belief in education as transformative.
The show itself became such a fixture, didn't it? People felt like they were right there on the couch with her.
That sense of shared experience was unique. And moments like the "you get a car" giveaway, they became cultural touchstones.
Pure generosity, but also brilliant television.
But let's not forget the businesswoman behind it all.
Herpo Productions.
Oprah.
Spelled backward.
Exactly. Owning and producing her own show gave her incredible control and independence. She wasn't beholden to a network in the same way.
Allowed her to steer the ship according to her values.
Absolutely. So by the early 2000s, she's this powerhouse, cultural leader, teacher, mogul.
And then 2011, the end of the show after 25 seasons. Felt like the end of an era.
It really did. The legacy is just immense. Redefining daytime TV, empowering viewers, fostering connection, demonstrating media could be a force for good.
But she wasn't done. Next chapter, OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, launched the same year the talk show ended.
Her vision for purpose-driven media, though it wasn't an instant smash hit, was it?
No, there were definitely early struggles, low ratings, talk about the magic being lost.
It's tough translating a personal brand like hers into a whole network. And the media world was changing fast.
But again, resilience. She adapted, listened, brought in strong collaborators.
Like Ayanna Van Zant with Fix My Life and Ava DuVernay.
Yes, Queen Sugar was a landmark, especially that commitment to hiring only female directors.
A huge statement, using her platform to push for real industry change, for inclusivity. That felt very true to her values.
And her influence kept expanding elsewhere, too. Oh, the Oprah magazine, Super Soul Sunday.
Those deep, insightful interviews. She has this amazing ability to connect with people from all walks of life, ask those searching questions.
It all seems to tie back to these core ideas: truth, growth, kindness, meaningful living. That's the brand.
It is. And the philanthropy continues. The commitment of the Academy in South Africa remains strong.
Then comes that moment in 2018. The Golden Globes. The Cecil B. DeMille Award.
In that speech, it just electrified the room and beyond.
It really did. It tapped into the cultural moment, her personal story, calls for justice. People were seriously talking about her running for president.
For a moment there, yeah. But she ultimately decided against it.
Which showed, I think, a real understanding of where her true power lies.
Exactly. In connecting with people, with ideas through her platforms, not necessarily in politics.
And she continues to do that, doesn't she? Podcasts, books, interviews, still exploring those big life questions.
The core message about listening to your own life, your inner voice, it's still there.
She's just this global icon now, a billionaire, yes, but also a builder, a leader, a teacher.
Her whole journey is really about staying true to yourself, isn't it? Refusing limitations, using your voice to connect.
So, if we try to distill it down, what are the big lessons we can take from her story?
Well, the source highlights a few key ones. First, and maybe most powerfully, your past doesn't define your future. Look at where she started.
Absolutely. Those hardships became fuel, became empathy.
Yeah.
Second,
Use your voice, but not just talking, communicating honestly, with care, with purpose.
third, stay curious. Never stop learning, asking questions, trying to understand.
Fourth, lead with heart. Put purpose and making a difference ahead of just, conventional success.
Lesson 5, own your story. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's connection, it's healing.
Right. And sixth, keep evolving. Life's a process. Embrace growth. Embrace new beginnings.
And maybe the foundation for all of it.
Believing yourself.
Yeah.
Even when, maybe especially when, others don't. That self-belief seems absolutely critical.
Wow, what a life. Resilience, voice, curiosity, purpose, growth. These aren't just themes in her story, they're things you can reflect on in your own life.
Definitely. Thinking about your own story, your own voice, your own potential.
Because really, every great journey starts with that little voice inside saying, I can. Maybe just believing that is the first step.
A powerful thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Oprah Winfrey's incredible journey. Maybe think about what part of her story resonated most with you and what tiny step it might inspire you to take.